You're back on. Welcome to race number 16 of 29 here in the 1991 Throwbacks, and we are coming off of a very thrilling race at Daytona, the midway race of the season, where Darrell Waltrip ended up holding off Dale Earnhardt in what was a very, very good clash. We have Martin and Kulwicki. They ended up having finishes both worse than 30th, so they took a massive skid in the standings. Dale Earnhardt ended up picking up his fourth second place finish during that race, and Rusty Wallace ended what was a very lengthy top 10 streak. However, he is still in the points lead by 66 points. Next race here, well, we're going back to Pocono, the tricky triangle here in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania for the AC Spark Plug 500. Go. As we look, who's going to get on the pole? I thought Earnhardt was going to get his first pole of the year, but not quite going to happen there. It's not going to be Earnhardt. No, it looks like the first pole, well, the pole is going to go to Kulwicki here. And, well, he's looking to actually win a race here, which he hasn't done since very early on in the season when he won back-to-back races. So we'll take a look at the starting lineup here. Starting in first is going to be Kulwicki. In second, we have Ricky Rudd. Third place, Dale Earnhardt. Fourth place, Bill Elliott. Fifth place, we have Morgan Shepherd. In sixth place, Davey Allison, who has been on a hot streak. Seventh, we have Ken Schrader. In eighth, we have Sterling Marlin. In ninth is ninth is Tim Richmond. And in 10th is going to be Rusty Wallace, your points leader. Here's the command for today's race.
Drivers, start those engines!
So we take a look here. Second in points, Dale Earnhardt. And the driver who was leading in points for a long time earlier on in the season, Martin, well, he's going to start 14th. Did not exactly have the qualifying run he was looking for today. And meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt, someone who just dominated Pocono back in the 80s, finally getting a good qualifying position. He was looking to win Pocono last time. Didn't quite work out for him. But he's looking for the win this time, no doubt about it. The cars are coming down to the line here, down the long front straightaway, and the green flag is out here from Pocono. And, man, Kulwicki got a good run. Kulwicki getting an extremely good run here through turn one. See all the cars coming down onto the long pond straightaway here. Kulwicki seems like he's going to keep his advantage going. But Earnhardt's right there. You can see all the cars flying by in the tunnel turn. And, man, it looks like already Kulwicki and Dale Earnhardt, they have checked out from the field, folks. Yep, Earnhardt's taken off. So, Kulwicki, once again, it seems like he's done the exact opposite of what he did last year so far. He always shows up with a very fast car in qualifying. It seems like he's on the pole every other week. And then he shows up on race day and just doesn't end up finishing as well as he qualified. So that's been an issue for Kulwicki pretty much ever since we've started this super speedway stretch. It has not treated him very kindly, especially with two worse than 30th place finishes. One driver that this stretch has been, well, let's say up and down for, to say the very least, is going to be Davey Allison. And again, you want to take a look at his last few finishes. Listen to these stats, okay? So he finishes 4th, 41st, 5th, 4th, 40th, 2nd, 3rd, and then another 3rd last week at Pocono. he's either been in the top 5 or been in the garage. So this 28 team is absolutely on fire. It doesn't look like that they necessarily have the same speed that they have had in previous weeks. So it probably won't work out for Davey Allison to get another top 5 added on here. So his top 5 streak probably going to end at 3 today. Looking back up, battle for the lead through the tunnel turn. Dale Earnhardt wants it. Dale Earnhardt just looking for a year of redemption, and man, this year has been a slow and steady climb back up for him. Like we said, 4 second place finishes and a win. If you count that, that is the most amount of first and second place finishes out of any driver this season. So Dale Earnhardt seems like he easily got around Alan Kulwicki, but Alan's not going to necessarily give up here. No, sir, he is not. And one thing I do have to say is Alan Kulwicki subsided. It looks like the core 4 from 1988, they are back. Dale Earnhardt is in the lead. Elliott in 3rd. Wallace is in 4th. And here's Tim Richmond trying to fight off a very hard-charging Ken Schrader. Yeah, Ken Schrader, earlier on this season, he won 3 out of 4 races just out of nowhere. He climbed up in the standings, and then, well, he finished 10th and 25th after that. So, didn't exactly work out for Schrader. Right now, it's not looking like it's going to work out very well for Tim Richmond here either. Looks like he's going to slowly fall back here. See if he ends up falling it back into the clutches of Ricky Rudd. Getting that strong push by Ernie Irvan. I'd say so. Battle for 3rd. And man, Elliott has got to have what we have to say is the weakest season that we've seen Bill Elliott have in quite a while. You know, he really has not been up front battling for the lead. We have not seen that this season. Elliott is still winless on the year, if you can believe that. Although, just because he hasn't been up front doesn't mean that he hasn't been consistent. He only has 2 finishes outside of the top 11 all season long. So he's got the consistency part nailed down. Thing is that he just doesn't seem to have the overwhelming speed to go ahead and win the race. And that's costing him a little bit. An average finish of 11.7 to this point in the season. That is really good. An 11.7 average finish is a great average finish. The only issue is that that's not a championship winning average finish right now. Yeah, 11.7 is only good for, what do we got here? 8th in points. That's what an 11.7 average finish grants you this season, is 8th in points. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Meanwhile, the 2 leaders here up front, Dale Earnhardt, Alan Kulwicki. Alan has not left the back bumper of Dale Earnhardt. Right, and you gotta wonder if Earnhardt's kind of playing a little dead here. It looked like he passed Kulwicki with ease. And maybe he's trying to get Kulwicki to just run the tires off of his car. Maybe Earnhardt's conserving a little bit here. So we'll see if this is just a little bit of psychology here being played by the 3-time Throwbacks champion. We'll find out here. Dale Earnhardt, of course, winning championships in 1980, 1986, and 1988. 1988 being the most convincing one, winning, well, 1986 and 1988, both of them won in very convincing fashion. Had 8 wins in both of those seasons. And that is actually still the Throwbacks record. Nobody has won more than 8 races in a season so far in the Throwbacks. Nobody's done it. You take a look at 1984, Bill Elliott, he won 8. 1985, Darrell Waltrip, won 8. 1986, Dale Earnhardt, won 8. Tim Richmond, 1987, won 7. 1988, Dale Earnhardt, won 8. And then 1989, actually, the win total ended up going down. I think Bill Elliott won 5. 1990, last year, Alan Kulwicki also won 5. So we really, really have not seen a truly dominant winner so far in the throwbacks. It's crazy to see how competitive this season's been, because I tell you what, like I said, not too long ago, back in 1988, we're talking, we had those four guys, Earnhardt, Elliott, Richmond, and Wallace. They were heads and shoulders above everybody else. But just so happens to be just a year later, you know, the same four people ended up finishing 1, 2, 3, 4 in the points. Don't get us wrong. But it was a lot closer, a lot more competitive. And of course, Elliott and Richmond, that was their season to shine. And then 1990 was just crazy. I mean, that was just an insane season. No, Jeff Bodine was leading in points, and he didn't have a win for the longest time. He ended up eventually getting a win. So, yeah, so Jeff Bodine was in control of the points for the longest time there. We are coming up to lap number 10 here now. We'll go ahead and run through the field here really quick. Of course, we see the two leaders here, Dale Earnhardt and Alan Kulwicki. In third place right now, we have Rusty Wallace. In fourth, we have Bill Elliott. In fifth, we have Ken Schrader. And then in sixth, we have Tim Richmond. Seventh, Ernie Irvin. And actually, it looks like we might have a battle for sixth here. Depends on how good of a run Richmond got off of turn one there, and it looks like he got a pretty good run. Nope. Schrader was able to slam the door shut, so it's still going to be seventh with Ernie Irvin, who really broke out into the scene last year, 1990, with the 3 wins. Irvin, not necessarily as successful this year. He does have the win. So don't get us wrong, he does have that win. The other thing is that he just had a stretch of really poor finishes. 3 straight finishes worse than 25th. So he's struggling a little bit because of that. Mark Martin we have here in 8th, Davey Allison in 9th. Ricky Rudd in 10th, who had a phenomenal short track stretch. I mean, he just went on a crazy tear, finishing 2nd, 4th, 9th, 6th, and 1st. So he went on a crazy short track stretch, and ever since then he's just been cooling off a little bit, to say the least. So Ricky Rudd has slowly faded from the points lead all the way back to 6th position in the points. In 11th here we have Morgan Shepherd. And Morgan Shepherd, well, it looked like early on he was going to have potentially a career renaissance here in the 15 car, because he comes out and he wins. He wins in the 3rd race this season. He ends up going out, he wins. So we're all thinking, all right, Morgan Shepherd, he comes away with a win. This might be a good season for the 15, and it's been an okay season. I don't want to say it's been a great season for them. It's been an okay season. I mean, they've only got 3 top 10s on the season, if you can believe that or not. But he has been close to the top 10. Lots of finishes of 12th, and lots of finishes between 12th and 15th. So he's consistent in that region, but he's also had a couple of poor finishes, and thus his average finish of 17.4, not exactly what you'd expect. And now the guy right behind him, Harry Gant, trying to gain some position here. So we take a look at Harry Gant, and you think basically in the same way here of Morgan Shepherd, but Gant's having a much better season than Morgan Shepherd. He ends up finishing 2nd in the Daytona 500, and we think that he's going to do really well. And then he ends up having a string of 20th or worse finishes. He just plummets in the standings because of it. And then he comes back, and he's had I would say a solid super speedway stretch so far, as they're going 3 wide here. Good Lord. At Pocono, 3 wide? You sure want to do that. So that's what Harry Gant's seasons look like so far. And we take a look at Darrell Waltrip, who's had a disappointing stretch, to say the least, here in 1991. He's got the win last week at Daytona, But other than that, it's been a miserable campaign. Only 3 top 10s so far this season. And he's generally struggled to make the top 15. Just hasn't worked out for him. Next person we go back to is Sterling Marlin, who has really broken out here during the Super Speedway stretch. He started out the season DNFing in the first 2 out of the 3 races, which is no good. But since then, he's been slowly climbing his way back in, and he's had 4 top 10s in the last 5 races. So Sterling Marlin's starting to get a little bit of consistency together here in this 22 machine. And then we also have his teammate Jeff Bodine in the 11. He does have a win this season, but he's actually gone 5 races without scoring a top 10, which is not something you would necessarily expect out of a Junior Johnson machine. But alas, here we are. Jeff Bodine on the outside looking in of yet another top 10, and it looks like pit stops are happening now. Pit stops are going on. Dale Earnhardt still the leader. You can see Rick Mass here in the 8 trying to merge back onto the track. Earnhardt's just trying to get around here. We'll see if he ends up going to pit road this lap or next lap. I would imagine this time around is a good time, a better time than ever to come in. Here we go. Earnhardt's going to go ahead and hit pit road. See if anyone decides to stay out for the 5 bonus points. I don't think anyone will. Nope, not even Larry Pearson. So we'll just watch Alan Kulwicki here. Now this track is big enough that you can go ahead and you can hit pit road and not fall a lap down. That's one of the crazy things about Pocono. It's a 2.5 mile long circuit. You could go ahead, hit pit road. It's not a particularly fast 2.5 mile long circuit either. So Pocono is one of the few tracks where you can go ahead, hit pit road, and end up not falling a lap down. Oh, here comes a bunch of people coming off of pit road now. There's Dale Earnhardt way ahead, and now Rusty Wallace, he just bumped the 7 out of the way. Oh, there's Rusty for you. So Rusty Wallace, he wants win number 4. He wants to extend his points lead. And, well, he's got the warmed up tires, so we'll see how big of a factor that ends up being here in this lap. Well, we'll see if he'll be able to get around Earnhardt here or not going into turn number 3. I would imagine he is able to. Earnhardt tries to chop block him. He failed miserably at it, and he's actually going to fall back into the clutches of Alan Kulwicki because of it. And your new leader is number 2, Rusty Wallace. A very good pit stop there by the number 2 squad to get that Pontiac back out there and out into the lead. That was just a fantastic stop there by the 2 team. So we'll go ahead and run down the top 10 one more time. We have Rusty Wallace, Alan Kulwicki, Dale Earnhardt, Ken Schrader, Bill Elliott, Tim Richmond, Ernie Irvin, Mark Martin, Davey Allison, and then Darrell Waltrip. So let's see here. Let's continue going further back here to give a little summary here. So we have now Brett Bodine. Brett Bodine has had a very interesting season, to say the least, with the 75 team. They've got 2 top 5s on the season, which is a pretty good step towards some success here in the 75 car. However, it just hasn't come to be so far. Brett Bodine is just, well, to say the least, struggled. He's just really struggled so far this season. And, you know, finishes of 40th, 20th and 13th in the last 3 races doesn't exactly inspire confidence. So Brett Bodine's really trying to pick it up here. He knows he can do better than an 18.5 average finish. He really wants to have a better second half of the season. Looking back, Neil Bonnet. And, well, we got 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s on the season so far. No wins, but he's been relatively consistent this season from what I'm seeing, but it's been consistently mediocre, to say the least, out of this 21 team so far. Neil Bonnet, he's in his final season. He's shown a couple flashes of, man, he wants to go out with a bang. But other than that, I see a lot of finishes worse than 20th here. Not exactly gone his way. Meanwhile, we have Terry Labonte here, who's really been trying to revive Billy Hagan's team. He drove for Billy Hagan in the mid-80s and almost won a championship with him in 84. Didn't quite pan out for him that way. However, we have the 94 here. Terry Labonte back with Billy Hagan, trying to bring this team out of the doldrums. Only 4 top 10s so far this season, so Labonte's trying to do a better job right now. Going back up to the front. Looks like Rusty Wallace just got passed pretty badly. Yeah, a lot of people just went right around Rusty Wallace there. You can see Earnhardt easily around. Kulwicki trying to go around here. He will get around in turn 1, and it looks like Ken Schrader's right there. He wants to pick up the pieces as well. Tell you what, Wallace is not giving up that outside lane. He might actually end up clearing Kulwicki here. I don't know. Kulwicki's still going to remain strong here on that inside lane heading into the tunnel turn. We'll see if he has to... if he ends up getting shot blocked, and he does. So a very good move there by Rusty Wallace. Yeah, I mean, you got to figure Rusty Wallace, he's being surrounded by a couple of past champions. Last season, Rusty Wallace, 5 wins, but a lot of DNFs. 10th in the points, despite having the 5 wins. So a really, really disappointing season after finishing 3rd and 3rd in the championship in the previous 2 seasons. So Rusty Wallace was like, you know what? That's it. I'm not getting any success out of Raymond Beadle. Raymond Beadle ends up calling it quits because of the pressure. He ends up going back to drag racing. Roger Penske ends up coming in. He acquires the team. He's now the owner here of the number 2. And, well, clearly the ownership change has paid off for this team. They are in the lead. Large and in charge is this number 2 team, no doubt about it. So, although Rusty Wallace is kind of falling off the pace a little bit here, looks like that's going to be it. Going back a little bit here into the field, we have Chad Little. And Chad Little has had a very interesting season. Here's the thing. He ended up showing up to one of the races, but ended up having to withdraw at the 11th hour because of a mechanical failure, a freak mechanical failure. The engine would not fire on the grid. They couldn't even start the race. They had to withdraw. Since then, it's really been an uphill struggle for him. He's only got the 1 top 10 on the season, and that was last week at Daytona. Until then, he had no top 10s on the season. And it's just been a struggle for this 19 team all season long. Although he seems to be doing quite a bit better than most of his peers, however, even despite missing a race. And this brings us to one of our rookies this season, number 55, Ted Musgrave. And yeah, he hasn't had any top 10s on the season. In fact, his best finish so far this season has been 17th. So you gotta figure that he's been mediocrely consistent with an average finish of about 26th. That's pretty typical for most rookies that end up coming into the series here. But yeah, it's not been a particularly inspiring campaign from Ted Musgrave, but he seems to be doing really well in comparison to all the other rookies. In fact, he is leading the Rookie of the Year standings. Well, actually, no, he's second in place in the Rookie of the Year standings because of what happened last week, which we'll get to him in just a moment. Phil Parsons not having a fun race today, and this is a team that has, well, to say the least, they've been trying really hard. They've got 5 top 10s on the season, but no top 5s. And 3 of those top 10s were 10th. But Phil Parsons has been consistently staying right on the fringes of the top 10. You're talking 17th, 15th, 11th, 14th, 16th, 13th, 14th, 15th. 10th, 6th, 6th, 10th. He's done a good job, but unfortunately he does have a couple of poor finishes of worse than 30th in there, so that does hurt his standings a little bit. But as far as an average finish of 15th, he seems to be doing a pretty decent job in that number 1 machine. He wants to be doing better though, and Phil Parsons thinks that these guys can relock and reload and go for the championship in 1992 if all the cards fall right for him. And here we have last year's Rookie of the Year, Rob Moroso, in the number 20, currently being beat by one of our current rookies. And Rob Moroso, he has the 1 top 10 so far this season as well. I don't want to say it's been a dismal season so far, but it certainly has not been a good one. We're talking a couple of DNFs, 3 DNFs to be a matter of fact. So Rob Moroso really needs to get some consistency together, no doubt about it. But he has a couple of pretty decent finishes in here. I see an 18th, a 12th, an 18th. So, Ramoroso, he's showing promise there. He just needs to get into a better car, and I think he could do really well. Now we have Kyle Petty here, who kind of asserts himself as the best of the mid-pack racers, but it just has not been the case this season. An average finish of 18th so far, with only 2 top 10s. This has definitely not been the 1991 campaign that Kyle Petty wanted. He wanted to be able to go out there and compete for the championship here in 1991, and they just have not had the speed. But of course, these guys, they're looking to just have the best finish this season they possibly can, and they're looking forward to 1992 already. Here we have Jimmy Spencer in the 98, so this guy is actually the best so far, the best in the field so far to not notch a top 10 finish to this point in the season, with an average finish, if you can believe this, of 22.9. So Jimmy Spencer thought he was going to have a really good time here in the 98, considering the time that Rick Mast had in the 98, getting that car into the top 20 in points. Oh, Jimmy Spencer's not having that much luck. Like I said, he's failed to even crack the top 10 so far. So Spencer, from Berwick, Pennsylvania, this is his home track. He's looking to impress today. Can't even crack the top 20. And then we have Darrell Waltrip's brother, Michael Waltrip, who got his first top 10 of the season last week at Daytona. And very much like Jimmy Spencer here, just an overall disappointing campaign so far for this number 30 team. They were expecting a lot more out of the car this season than they've gotten. But of course, Michael, he's still young. He's still learning out there. So they're still trying to get Michael up to be a little bit of a better racer than he is now. And we'll see where this 30 car ends up being next year. We go to the second of the running of the rookies right now, and that's going to be Bobby Hamilton, who's actually right behind Ted Musgrave in standings. And just like his colleague Ted Musgrave, he does not have a top 10 in the season. In fact, he's going to dive off into pit road right now as our second round of pit stops is going to begin here. You can see Rusty Wallace, he's already dropped off to pit road. Look at this line of cars. Well, this is really going to determine, this pit stop is really going to determine the finishing order of this race. There hasn't been a lot of green flag passing today, although there have been attempts. Has not been a lot of green flag passing today. Ernie Irvan, he's going to end up staying out. Now, Dale Earnhardt, he ended up going on pit road there. So, Ernie Irvan, he ends up getting the 5 bonus points for leading a lap. Now, Davey Allison, if he can get around Ernie Irvan here, that would be quite interesting because that would... Yeah, that would be huge. If Allison getting around Irvan here, Allison would end up getting the 5 bonus points for leading a lap. But right now, that's not looking like that's going to be very possible. So here we go. Ernie Irvan, Davey Allison, they're going to peel off to pit road. And here's Dale Earnhardt, and Rusty Wallace is behind him. Earnhardt just came off pit road, though, and Rusty Wallace has got the warm tires. And Wallace, little contact. Oh, you know Earnhardt's going to return the favor there. Right around in turn 3. So it looks like Rusty Wallace is going to go back to the point here. We'll see how everyone cycles through. Here's Davey Allison coming back out onto the track. There's Ernie Irvan. So Allison's, looks like Allison's streak of top 5 or wreck is going to end up being broken today. I don't think he's going to get into the top 5 unless he wrecks. So now we got a battle for the win here. It's going to be a 20-lap chess match. Now the thing is, I think they actually still need to make one more stop, so this can end up being very interesting. I'll still need to make one more stop. That's what it's looking like. 20 laps to go. They can only make 15 laps. There's still one more stop in this race. Oh, well, that makes it interesting. I think that puts Rusty Wallace in the best place to win this race. And Dale Earnhardt, the man in second in points, doing everything he can to gain points, finishing in second. He's going to end up losing points to Rusty Wallace here. Man. That's always rough. When you're second or third or fourth in points, you end up finishing second. And one of the 3 people or whoever is in front of you ends up winning the race. And you're like, oh, come on. You're just trying to gain, but second place just isn't good enough sometimes. So we take a look at the standings coming off of pit road this time. Rusty Wallace in the lead. Dale Earnhardt second. Ken Schrader's worked his way up to third. Richmond's weaseled his way to fourth. Mark Martin gotten into fifth. Ernie Irvan slowly climbed to 6th. Bill Elliott 7th. Davey Allison in 8th. Alan Kulwicki with a bad stop. He's slid all the way back to 9th. And Sterling Marlin rounding out the top 10. And here comes Irvan. He's going to slide underneath Martin. That'll be for the 5th position if he can hold it. Looks like he's going to get it. Lap traffic becoming a concern for the first time today. Lap traffic potentially becoming a big concern here. We'll see. Like I said, passing has been at a premium today at Pocono, as it usually is. Pocono's such a tricky track. It's great for the drivers. Doesn't create a fantastic race 90% of the time. It's always great for the drivers. And there goes Dale Earnhardt down to the inside of Rusty Wallace. Can Wallace hold it on the outside? That outside lane's been fast in turn 3, but I tell you what, I think Earnhardt's just the faster car. Take a look at the fastest lap charts. Wallace has the fastest lap. No? So I think Wallace might actually have a faster car here. It's just got to outsmart Earnhardt here. Tell you what, if Wallace can end up actually holding off the Intimidator himself here in these last few laps, it's going to be crazy. Of course, there's still a pit stop to go on here too, so keep that in the back of your mind. Irvin is around Tim Richmond. So Ernie Irvin is on fire. And we got a car spinning here. Bobby Hillin. Martin trying to find the best way to go around. Looks like he pulls back in line behind Greg Sachs. The caution is out. So that's going to take the pit stop out. And your leader coming to the line, Rusty Wallace. So the question is, what happened to Bobby Hillin? Here, Bobby Hillin drives it way too hard in the tunnel turn. Hits the wall. Mickey Gibbs gets into him. Sends him around. That's fair enough. Bobby Hillin Jr. just having a dismal year in that 76 car. A very, very dismal year in that 76 car.
Yeah, it's just not been the greatest year for Bobby Hillin Jr. at all. He lost his ride in the 8, and it looks like, yeah, he's just been atrocious in that 76 car. Although he's not at the very bottom of the points, he's very, very close to it.
Bobby Hillin Jr. fourth worst in points right now with that 76 car. And the only reason why he's only the fourth worst in points is because Dave Marcus and Lake Speed have missed 2 more races than him. Which is just insane to think about. So here we go. The final round of pit stops of the race. This is going to be big. Oh, a couple people take 2 tires. A couple people take 4. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Earnhardt, Irvin, Allison, Elliott, all taking 2 tires. And apparently an issue with Darrell Waltrip's car. Some heavy contact happened here. I'm not sure what happened. Figure out what happened here. I figured the 17 got into the back of the 15, but maybe I'm wrong. Oh! Oh, got into the back of the 22. Oh, and it looks like Dave Marcus and Jeff Bodine end up wrecking too. Ricky Rudd also involved. And more people backing into each other. Dear Lord. Front four drivers took 2 tires. Earnhardt, Irvin, Allison, and Elliott. Everyone behind them took 4. And that's the last pit stop of the race. It's going to be interesting here to see what happens. So we're rushing towards what should be a pretty interesting conclusion to see. Like I said earlier, passing's been at a premium in today's race. So I think the call for 2 tires might end up paying off here. See some of the cars involved. Darrell Waltrip. There's Ricky Rudd. You can see Ted Musgrave. Kyle Petty, Jeff Bodine. They're even worse looking off. Man. Yeah, not exactly what you'd expect. So here we go. Pace car should shut off its lights here for one more stop. One more lap. The top 10 as they roll off is going to be Earnhardt in the lead, Ernie Irvin second, Davey Allison third, Bill Elliott fourth, Rusty Wallace fifth, Ken Schrader sixth, Mark Martin seventh, Tim Richmond eighth, Alan Kulwicki ninth, Sterling Marlin's going to run out the top 10. We're going to restart with 12 laps to go. And all these guys should be able to make it to the end, no problem. On fuel and tires, that's not going to be an issue today. Yeah, let's gonna figure out what the real question is here. They're gonna go through turn 3 right now. On the inside, you see all the lapped cars. It's Dick Trickle, Greg Sachs, Bobby Hillen. 37 cars are on the lead lap. Mickey Gibbs. is the last car on the lead lap. First car one lap down is Greg Sachs. They come to the line, and the green flag is back out here at Pocono. So Earnhardt looks like he got a good jump, but maybe not good enough of a jump because Irvin is all over him here through turn one. Irvin all over him. And look at this, Rusty Wallace, he's cutting down. He's trying to avoid the lap traffic. Irvin going for the lead here in the tunnel turn. Man, I just don't think that Earnhardt's been fast here on the short runs, but once the long run comes around, Earnhardt has been really, really fast. But Ernie Irvin, he's trying to take the lead here, and it looks like he's going to do that quite easily. Irvin to the point here at Pocono. Well, that's not going to be it here because it looks like Dale Earnhardt's going to lose the second position here. Rusty Wallace, 4 fresh tires. We'll see how big of a difference this ends up making because it looks like Wallace is going to be able to easily get around Dale Earnhardt. Irvin is able to put the chop block down on Wallace, however. Wallace is right there on the back of the 4. He's going to ride him up onto the long pond straightaway. Surely he's going to try to make a move at some point going into the tunnel turn. Or he might. There he goes. He takes a peek. I don't think he has a good enough run to do it, though. Irvin's still in the lead for now. He's looks like Wallace was trying to set a move to go into turn 3. That did not exactly work. The lowest banked corner in all of NASCAR. Turn 3. The very, very flat turn. Rusty Wallace trying to get around Ernie Irvin here. I don't know if he can quite get there. Here comes Davey Allison down to the bottom. Allison trying to get around Earnhardt. And Rusty Wallace has gone to the lead with the 4 fresh tires. There's Alan Kulwicki and Martin. They're right here as well. So now we'll see if Rusty Wallace is able to pull away with the 4 fresh tires versus the 2 tires of the other guys. Man, Earnhardt has not looked good. Clearly, whatever strategy he ended up pulling here with the 2 tires, it has not paid off for him so far. He has lost a ton of positions. Looks like he's going to lose another one here to Tim Richmond. Man, Earnhardt is really, really on the way back train here. He's going to lose another 2 because now he's on the outside of 3 wide. Good Lord, Earnhardt falling almost outside of the top 10. Meanwhile, Rusty Wallace, he's still in the lead. It's going to be a big points day for Wallace, whether if he ends up winning this race or finishing in the top 5. It doesn't really matter. Wallace is just going to look to extend that points lead. Yep, after an 11th place finish last week, he's just trying to extend that top 10 streak out a little bit further. Yeah, it's really hard to debate, man. I don't see anyone taking down Rusty Wallace. He's been so strong, so strong. Tell you what, Davey Allison trying to keep his checker record streak alive. I don't think that's going to exactly work today, though. Like I said, he's fallen out of the top 5 several times before, and it looks like he's going to fall out now. Looks like the 2-tire strategy was definitely not the strategy to go with. All the drivers who ended up taking 2 tires are fading really, really fast right now. Thought that track position was going to be king. Clearly not. Very clearly not. Not exactly sure what happened here. Kulwicki trying to run down Rusty Wallace here. It's a three-man battle for the lead. Yeah, and it looks like they're chopping into Rusty Wallace here. Both him and Schrader are chopping into Rusty Wallace a bit by a bit. But I don't know if they're fast enough to actually pass Rusty Wallace. It's going to be interesting to see. Going to come to the line. 6 laps to go. No more pit stops in this one. Ken Schrader trying to win his 4th race in 7 attempts. Alan Kulwicki trying to notch win number 3 on the season. Rusty Wallace trying to notch win number 4. And so all these guys are all multi-time winners so far this season already, and it looks like they're all just ready to pass. And here comes Kulwicki down to the inside here in the tunnel turn. I don't know if that's exactly the place that you want to pass when someone's right on your tail. Oh, this is going to get interesting here down into turn 3. Through the short chute, is Schrader going to try to make it 3 wide? I would. Oh, he doesn't. I'm surprised. That is a surprising amount of restraint from Ken Schrader there. Kulwicki to the point, 5 laps to go. Tim Richmond's joined in on the fun. He's winless on the season. He wants to get a win. Yeah, Tim Richmond, he's been hard luck this year as well. So, yeah, Tim Richmond really wants to get going here. I don't know. Ken Schrader's, he's going to stay here down on the inside going into the tunnel turn. I think that's a little aggressive. Oh, he's got to watch he doesn't get crossed over here. He's not gonna. Tim Richmond ended up providing the safety blanket. Kulwicki couldn't drive away soon enough. And it looks like it's all even through turn 3, rather. 4 laps to go. It's 7, 5, 2, and 25. Where did Schrader come from? I swear he's been nowhere all day long. Now all of a sudden, here he is. He's battling for the win. And Schrader trying to get a win here in the most Alan Kulwicki way possible, but in order to do it, he's got to get around Alan Kulwicki. You got to consider a large majority of Alan Kulwicki's wins, even back in 1990, they could really be dismissed as flukes if you look at all of them, with the exception of maybe one of them, that he's actually gone out there and truly dominated. You take a look at Atlanta earlier on in the season, he led 1 lap all day, and that was the last lap, but he won the race. Kulwicki was just in the right place at the right time, and in order to be the right place at the right time, you got to be consistently up at the front, and that's why he won the championship last year. He was just up at the front. Things went his way a lot. Well, 3 laps to go. He is at the front. He just needs to stay there. These 4 guys, they've been right with each other. Mark Martin trying to hold on to 5th there. This is the battle. Oh no. 2 laps to go when we come to the line here. Oh, Schrader tried something really aggressive to try to jump on the outside of Alan Kulwicki there. He might be trying to set up to get a good push here from Wallace and maybe get a really good run here down the long front straightaway. That might backfire on him. And there goes Wallace down to the inside. 2 laps to go. This is exactly what Alan Kulwicki wants to see. Wallace gets chop blocked. So now Rusty Wallace is actually going to end up falling back a little bit along with Tim Richmond. And now Kulwicki's right there. He's all alone to try to make this move. He's looking. He's looking everywhere, but he just can't find room to make the pass. He's trying to look low. He can't get low. He's trying to look high. He's not fast enough high. But now Tim Richmond, it looks like he's going to try to make a move around Rusty Wallace here in turn 3. That'll bring Richmond up to 3rd. That might be a little bit of help for Ken Schrader, but I think it might be too little too late. White flag, 1 lap to go. Schrader's been all over the back bumper of the 7. He just hasn't been able to put the move together. Lap traffic coming off the pit road. Oh, this could be big. Big, big, big. Schrader trying to find the inside of Kulwicki. Oh, lap traffic, get out of the way. That messed up Kulwicki's line a little bit. We'll see if Schrader will be able to take advantage or not. Oh, lots of lap traffic ahead. Coming through turn 3. It's not going to be enough. Kulwicki comes off of turn 3, and he is going to win. He will take the checkered flag for the AC Sparkplug 500. Win number 3 on the year for Kulwicki. And Schrader was all over the back bumper. How did he keep that 5 car behind him? Schrader was eating at the back bumper of Kulwicki for the better half of 5 laps. That is crazy. An absolute driving clinic put on by the entire top 4 here. Well done. This is obviously one of the notoriously most difficult tracks to even race at here in the Cup Series. And Kulwicki, Schrader, Richmond, and Wallace just put on a clinic on how to do it right. So a little bit of a pit strategy kerfuffle. That win will jump Alan Kulwicki up to 4th in the standings with the 3 wins on the season. He also went up to 100 and some laps led. You can see that Wallace still ends up extending his points lead out a little bit. So clearly Rusty Wallace still had a real good points day. Looks like Wallace is really starting to distance himself from everyone else here. So it's looking really good here for Rusty. We knew if he had a strong super speedway stretch, he'd have a really good shot at winning the championship. So far, so good. So Wallace, it's been really good for him, but next week we're going back to the plate tracks. It's Talladega Super Speedway for the Die Hard 500. We'll see you then.